Hello everyone, I'm Captain Flare and welcome to Plants vs. Zombies 2 Alternate UniverZ. If you're not already familiar with it, this is a mod for PvZ2 that aims to recreate the feel of the original game by fully overhauling every level. This mod also adds a bunch of new content, including new plants, zombies, world mechanics, quests, music, and just so much more. I really recommend you try it, especially if you're sick of the unfair difficulty and microtransactions of the vanilla version. I've been playing this mod for a good while now, and in my quest to fully 100% it, I'm proud to say that I've completed every single level. Asterisk. Not exactly. See, in around October of last year, the mod developers added new endless sandbox modes for each world. These basically serve as battlegrounds to complete your daily quests and test new strategies against a never-ending horde of zombies. Asterisk, not exactly. Okay, see, when you jump in, Penny gives you the gist about what the level is, and once you pick your plants, an hour-long timer begins to tick down at the top of the screen. The way it works is when the clock hits 0, the level will automatically end. So this level isn't exactly endless, it's just really long. Of course, this begs the question, what's stopping me from just hunkering down for an hour and setting up a real secure defense? Well, the devs thought of this, and their solution was to make zombie health and eating speed exponentially increase as the level progresses. That doesn't sound too bad at first glance, but it reaches the point where any wall plants get eaten within seconds and regular zombies begin to tank instant kills. In any regular run of these levels, no matter how many powerful plants you have on the lawn, you'll eventually get overrun just past the halfway mark. It's like it says at the start, you aren't meant to beat these levels. So with all that mishmash jargon out of the way, you've seen the title. Can you beat every endless level in PvZ2 AltverZ? For a long time, any attempt I tried at beating these levels was met with disaster, but with the recent Jurassic Marsh update, the mod developers added Daisy Chain into the game. Now, in case you aren't familiar with them, Daisy Chain is a straight shooting and attacking plant. But what sets them apart from like every pea shooter ever is that with every 40 shots they fire, they'll release a stunning puff of gas that makes any zombie in their lane completely stop in their tracks for a short time. After Daisy Chain repeats this process 2 more times, they'll do much more damage than before and release gas puffs more frequently. Having just 1 or 2 of these on the lawn is already pretty handy, because I mean, the more you have, the less zombies will be able to move at all. So one day I thought, what if? How many would it take to permanently stop the zombies? One day, I clearly had too much time on my hands and a dream. The only way to deal with zombies that'll eradicate a defense the moment they touch it is to make sure they never get the chance. So we open our journey here in ancient Egypt. Of course, all I got for my first winning attempt was that screenshot, so I went in again to show you all what it looks like in motion, and I also took the chance to optimize my strategy with Cold Snapdragon. The early game of these sandbox levels can be surprisingly intensive, making it difficult to snowball into a heavy defense, but with some careful management of insta-plants, you'll get full columns of daisy chains in no time. To save planting space, something you'll see me doing throughout these worlds is utilizing gold leaf. That way I can rapidly generate sunlight without the need for sunflowers later on, saving room for more daisy chains on the lawn. At this point, the strategy is just a matter of slowly moving my front line of Cold Snapdragons forward, replacing my sunflower fuel with daisy chains when they come off their long cooldown. Until I've got full stalling power with the daisy chains, the combination of Cold Snapdragons and careful puff shroom placement keep Gargantuars slowed and distracted long enough to prevent them from throwing imps. Once I've filled the lawn, all that's really left to do is wait. The most dangerous thing that can happen this late in the game is the occasional imp squeaking past the stunning, taking out at least 1 daisy chain with the increased eating speed. But even then, this happens so infrequently that immediately replacing it is pretty much always possible. As we close out the level, you'll notice that, surprise surprise, PvZ as a game doesn't necessarily like having this much stuff going on, so the game ends up slowing down a fair bit. It's not too bad now, but you'll see just how much of a slog things can be later in the video. So, with the last few seconds ticking down, what could possibly await as the glorious reward for beating what claims to be an endless level? It's a bag. A handful of coins in a bag. The same bag you get for beating any other level in the game. I'm not sure what you expected. While you might say the real reward was the friends we made along the way, I've got 1 zombie that was frozen for like most of the game, I'd argue the real reward is realizing once I hit the next world that making this video would take way longer than I thought. So, raise your anchors and make sure your wood planks support plant life for some reason, as it's time to move on to Pirate Seas. So, Pirate Seas. The early game in Pirate Seas is not fun. While Egypt's idea of strong zombies early on can be a bit intrusive with all the graves and bunched up groups, Pirate Seas doesn't hesitate to quickly throw zombies right at your sunflowers. But once again, I'm playing my cards carefully, as it isn't that hard to bounce back. Here I switched up my strategy quite a bit, ditching plants like Ice Bloom and Puff Shroom that quickly lost their purpose once my defense was complete, I replaced them with more appealing options like Power Vine and a plant exclusive to AltverZ, Submergement. My idea with Power Vine was to squeak out any additional damage I could with the limited planting space I have thanks to the gaps between the decks. As for Submergement, she makes all attacking plants do splash damage when she's planted. She also fires a bunch of armor-ignoring projectiles that can quickly clean up a group of zombies. And yes, the mod devs gave her a cool Jebel costume. Moving on. One of the main differences in my strategy is swapping Cold Snapdragon for Sapfling, as I figured the limited planting space would make Snapdragon less effective, so Sapfling will hold down the lane between gas puffs for now. At this point, it's no exaggeration to say that the game's performance is absolutely tanking. Obviously, I'm a bit at fault, as adding Power Vine and Submergement sure isn't helping with all the extra math it has to do, but the real culprit is quick to catch my attention. I want you to see what happens when an imp is thrown into my defense. Now, I want you to watch it again, this time with the same exact circumstance in ancient Egypt. So, something's gone horribly wrong. Because this pirate imp spawned only around halfway into the level, you'd assume the health bonus it has would be much less than the Egypt imp, but somehow that's not true. The same goes for the eating speed bonus, as it's clear that the pirate imp munches through my plants far quicker, as it does so just about instantly. Upon checking the almanac, it isn't like the Pirate Sea's imps are naturally juiced up, they have the exact same stats as their ancient counterpart. So this can only mean one thing. Not all sandbox levels are made equally. The game isn't lagging because of all the plants I have, but rather because all the impossibly beefy zombies that are piling up at the edge of my screen. Alright, so first of all, that attempt went downhill the moment that imp finished its all-you-can-eat dinner, as the same thing happened in the middle lane, and the top lane never really recovered. While stuff like a spring bean plant food effect can clean this up in a satisfying fashion, it's only a band-aid solution as it doesn't fix the lack of souped-up flowers to freeze the upcoming waves. With no more gas puffs to stall zombies out, you can finally get a glimpse of just how many zombies are actually packed into those clouded groups. Now, with a significant bite taken out of my frontal lobe, it's no surprise that my next move was to jump straight back into this onslaught of impossible proportions. This time I tweaked my plant lineup to reflect the original golden theme of the daisy chain strategy. If the zombies never get a chance to move, then they'll never get a chance to win. So Ice Bloom is back, alongside both regular and imitated Stunion, as their stuns are the only thing capable of filling in longer gaps between gas puffs. I also subbed Squash for Cherry Bomb, as I figured it'd be more valuable to get a burst of group damage across multiple lanes, as zombies in the plankless lanes pose a much bigger threat than I first realized. And spoiler alert, that's what took me down in this attempt right here. The plankless lanes were already far more vulnerable by default due to having less space to plant daisy chains, causing imps and seagulls to overwhelm the deck. Now, if this sounds like a lame way to go, I promise you it isn't, as these seagulls happen to eat highly explosive cherries for breakfast. Even if I still had a lawnmower to clean up this mess, the unchecked imp cannons in the back would have done me in, as once they've been unfrozen for enough time, they don't hold back as they spew imps all over my lawn, decimating adjacent lanes just to make a statement as my brain gets eaten once again. Despite more of my core mental processing power going down a zombie's gullet, I wondered, what plant could counter this situation? If only there was a plant that could emit high damage outputs across groups, knock zombies backwards into the ocean, react defensively when getting eaten, and actually be stronger because of it. Wait! Kiwi Beast! Being released in the same update alongside Daisy Chain, Kiwi Beast is a group attacking plant that, when eaten, reacts by sending zombies back and growing in size, increasing his damage and attack radius. He comes in at a high sunk cost, but I figured he'd be worth it to defend the front lines. But there's something I didn't consider. Truthfully, despite his resemblance to another particularly round wall plant, Kiwi Beasts don't actually have that much health when they're at full size. So, thanks to the fast eating speed modifier and the high number of insta-killing zombies like barrel rollers and gargantuars, they're constantly threatened whenever gas puffs aren't covering for them, and their high cost and recharge sure don't help with this, making it difficult to get enough of them to cover the front lines. With all these factors combined, it wasn't long before the middle lane began having some issues. Thankfully, I packed a failsafe in the form of Time Warp. This plant sends all zombies to the right side of the screen. However, the reason I haven't used this seemingly perfect plant earlier is because it also fully resets the health of all the zombies on the field. I figured it would be a worthy sacrifice, but what I didn't consider is that it wipes them of any status effects too, meaning no more stalling. The other lanes quickly recovered, but the middle lane still didn't have enough daisy chains to keep up. Thankfully, I still had a lawnmower for a lane-wide spectacle. But at this point, it was already game over. To truly get a sense of how ridiculously beefed up these zombies are, I want you to take a look at this clip right here. Yeah, so a world where imps have health comparable to typical gargantuars just barely halfway into the level isn't a world I want to be in anymore. Now, pulling the curtain back a bit, if you've seen any of Salmon's Giga, Terra, Turbo, Extremo mod YouTube videos where zombie health is multiplied to a ridiculous degree, then congratulations, because I think you just stumbled upon the PvZ2 equivalent. Now anyway, despite all my efforts, it didn't take long before I once again had my brain served on a silver platter. So, can you beat every endless level in PvZ2 AltverZ? I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, probably. If you hypothetically had all your daisy chains sync up their clouds properly, and you perfectly time stuff like Stunions wherever they don't, then yeah, it would work. But realistically, I'm gonna say no. I've spent way too much time throwing my head against the deck here, and this video has already gone on longer than I wanted to, so we'll just move along with this one marked as a loss. But if you've already looked ahead at the YouTube chapters, then you already know that we're gonna come back to this, so just sit tight and watch to the end. It's probably gonna be really cool or something. So buckle up your boot belts, or whatever they have, because it's time to ride to the Wild West. Now I spent way too much time yapping at you throughout Pirate Seas, so I'll try and keep Wild West short and simple. Starting off, the minecarts pose a serious problem, as while they make for a convenient early game, they severely limit our planting space in every lane. As for my plant lineup, the double Stunion is back, and so is Cold Snapdragon, as I couldn't dare to keep the zombies unchilled, especially with AltverZ's new Prospector variant, whose whole deal is speedrunning straight to the backline of his fuses it put out, like, immediately. Reflecting on the benefits of Kiwi Beast, I also packed Explodovine, which knocks zombies back both when planted and when eaten, dealing explosive damage along the way. I also brought Spike Rock to instantly destroy piano zombies and distract Gargantuars, and don't be fooled, its ice-sweet appearance is just a wicked cool costume. This Spike Rock doesn't actually chill zombies that step on it. So with all that out of the way, let me just skip to the fact that the first attempt was a catastrophic failure. Now it was totally my bad for not moving this back daisy chain up to take care of the imp, but it reflected a greater issue that, with less planting space in the back, this setup is especially vulnerable to thrown imps. In my next attempt, it's a good time to make a note that Poncho zombies in AltverZ are so warm and toasty that they're totally immune to being chilled, making them particularly threatening against the front line. As the level progresses, they begin to eat so fast that they'd often eat both the Explodovine and the Cold Snapdragon it was protecting while being flung backwards. This attempt had me struggling for a long time, but it showed me something quite interesting. With enough pre-planted Explodovines, I could set intrusive imps back a significant number of tiles, but it does come at the cost of losing any plants they pass. But somehow, this didn't always work. This attempt ended because of a weird bug where a pair of imps decided to ignore an Explodovine and eat their way past the rest of my defenses while my Stunions were on cooldown. So I'm gonna be real, it's not looking good here. I came into this challenge with a level of confidence that's been nothing but hazardous to my free time and brain, both in-game and otherwise. Like Pirate Seas, Wild West is still theoretically possible, but I'm just gonna give it a rest and move on. And again, don't go anywhere, we're gonna return to this soon. So, put on your red jumpsuit and bring disco back, it's time to head to the far future. When previous worlds have shown just how dangerous zombies at low HP can be, it's no surprise that I was real nervous about Far Future. To combat this fear, I decided to bring Nightcap, a favorite of mine for tackling the tricky levels of this world. See, Nightcap in AltverZ works completely differently from vanilla PvZ2, and Battle for Neighborville, bringing interesting implications to this challenge. On top of their regular projectile damage, they also drain a small percentage of the zombies' full HP, making them a great pick against the high health mechs in the standard levels of this world. But what I somehow never considered until now is how practical they can be in overcoming this challenge. As far as I know, they're the only plant that does percentage-based damage, so against impossibly tanky foes, they could be the key to success. However, they have two main downsides. First of all, they have a very limited range, and second of all, they become fully invisible whenever non-mech zombies approach them, making them unable to be eaten. This sounds good, but it also means that they stop attacking completely until the threat goes away, and it could sort of put them out of commission for a while. This transitions us perfectly to the next curveball the game throws at us. In AltverZ, jetpack zombies have been buffed so that, similar to balloon zombies from the first game, they fly so high that they can only be hit by particular plants. In this case, any straight shooting plants are unable to hit them, but they'll still give it a try. Jetpack zombies in this mod can even fly over your lawnmowers, so they aren't anything to mess with. Now, normally they aren't too bad to counter, but in a level where every inch of plantable space counts, I really can't afford to bring an alternate attacker capable of hitting these jetpacks, especially when they'll gain immense amounts of health as the level progresses. So I brought Blover to take care of them whenever they got too far. Now, while I could go on and explain the other plants in my lineup and how they're the perfect counters or whatever, it's not actually worth explaining, as the real hero of this level isn't even a plant at all. It's the jetpack zombie. See, with enough daisy chains, I'm able to keep jetpack zombies reasonably stationary on the lawn, as while they can't be hurt, they can still be stunned. This seems pretty unremarkable on the surface, but it creates an interesting side effect. All my plants think they can hit jetpack zombies, so they'll always shoot under them, but all this does is send a flurry of attacks and gas puffs somewhere off screen. Now, to illustrate why this is important, let me pull up an older clip here. Whenever zombies spawn, it always takes a moment for my daisy chains actually take notice, leaving vulnerable gaps between their gas puffs. But here, all my plants are already shooting into where the zombies spawn, meaning any zombie that shows up is being stunned and attacked before it can even appear at the edge of the screen. The best part is, with the right jetpack zombie positioning, even my nightcaps can extend their short range and hit off-screen zombies. The only downside of these jetpack shenanigans with my nightcaps is that if these zombies fly above nightcap, they'll hide away and refrain from attacking for a long time. But in the grand scheme of things, this isn't so bad. As a result, most of my gameplay just looks like this. It's pretty smooth going. Though eventually, someone in the jetpack squad will sneak through, so I'll have to sacrifice the whole board of the blower push. In hindsight, I probably could have used Hurricane to target only a single lane, but I was already pretty far in the level and I didn't want to restart just for a small optimization like that. Now, this all sounds wonderful, but believe me, this strategy isn't all sunshine and rainbows, as whenever I blow my flying friends away, I have the whole mechanical horde come at me at once. And even if I have plenty of daisy chains shooting under jetpacks, small holes created from previously thrown imps can be enough to give grouped up Gargantua primes a chance to totally laser down my daisy field. Which is a normal sentence that normal people say. At some points, it was difficult to recover thanks to daisy chain's long cooldown, but I continued to persevere, and the counter continued to get smaller and smaller until there were no more numbers to count at all. For whatever reason, the zombies didn't despawn with the coin bag getting handed out, leading to some interesting behavior. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this before anything else happens. So yeah, Far Future's Endless Sandbox mode is beatable. What I initially thought would be the hardest world out of the 4 I tackled here, it turns out it wasn't so bad at all. So now you may be thinking, Captain Flare, you did it! Nightcap is the solution! Go back to the other levels and sweep them with Nightcap! And to that I say, that's the normal thought, isn't it? See, while realizing Nightcap's effectiveness is exciting, it isn't the only discovery I made while playing this level. So, blowers are quirky. According to their almanac description, they blow away all zombies in the air. Now this normally just means stuff like jetpack zombies or seagull zombies, but as it turns out, any zombie can be blown back if the game considers them to be in the air. So whenever a plant knocks a zombie back, Blower can whisk them away the moment they hit the ground again, meaning that, against all odds, I now have a way to insta-kill any zombie regardless of their health. Now, Char Guard is pretty good for knocking zombies back, but we already have a more consistent option through Explosive Vine, so they'll be back on our roster as we're not done yet. So with that, I'm proud to declare our return to Pirate Seas. So the general strategy remains mostly the same. I still do whatever it takes to fill the lawn with daisy chains. I considered bringing Nightcap, but I felt that Cold Snapdragon's multi-lane chill was still too hard to pass up in order to keep the deckless lanes safe. The main difference with my strategy is now I'm spamming as many Explosive Vines as possible, allowing them to protect every plant. That's not to say my plants were totally safe. As you may recall, the zombies eat so quickly that they'll clear out an entire tile while simultaneously being knocked backwards. But this time around, whenever a zombie is blasted back, I can chain that with Blower to get rid of them for good, allowing me to take care of all the imps that caused me so much trouble before. I also took a few tries at blowing the back groups of zombies away, but I found that to be relatively inconsistent, which is something we'll explore further in Wild West. But for now, you can see that under the right circumstances, it's totally possible to wipe a whole group of Gargantuars away. So, by utilizing this quirky strategy, the Pirate Seas Endless Sandbox level is completely possible to beat. And just like before, it seems the game isn't quite sure how to handle it. So, all that's left to do is hard cut to Wild West. The strategy is pretty much exactly the same here, so I'll save your time and cut to the chase about how weird it is to use. Sometimes hitting zombies with the Explosive Vine into Blower combo works wonders, but other times they just totally take the explosion without moving at all. I wasn't sure if it was related to the gas stun or to Cold Snapdragon's freezing, but in all my testing throughout this run, I couldn't figure out what to determine if they'd move or not, so I just had to accept and deal with it. Something that makes Wild West even trickier than Pirate Seas is, unsurprisingly, how significant the chickens can be. In my previous run, I didn't get far enough for them to pose a huge threat, but here they can spontaneously blast through my front line in the blink of an eye, and at some points they have so much health that they can tank an Explosive Vine's initial blast upon being planted. While this explosion does significantly less damage than the explosion it has when being eaten, I'd like to remind you that zombie chickens are normally one-shot by literally anything in the game, so to see them tank explosions is just so bizarre. Now, I could just leave it at that, but it's about time I do something that I'm honestly surprised I haven't thought of doing yet. It's finally time to do the math. Alright, so if we take a quick little look at the almanac here, we can see that Explosive Vine, upon being planted, does 300 damage to all the zombies around them. So if we were to go ahead and compare that to our favorite little chicken, they've only got 1 health, so if they're totally taking this explosion, they have at least 300 times more health, meaning every zombie has 300 times more health. So say we compare that to our favorite little imp, all imps have 190 health, so if we were to just do a little bit of calculating, we know that 300 times 190 is what we're dealing with, meaning that imps have 57,000 health. And to put that into perspective, a Gargantuar has 3,600 health. If I were to divide the imp health by the regular Gargantuar health, we can see that every single imp has at least 15 times more health than a normal Gargantuar, which is just nuts. And if we were to even just, because we like big numbers here, say a normal Gargantuar health is 3,600, so multiply by 300. Every Gargantuar has a million health. Now, this sort of times 300 calculation, it feels like it's true for stuff like, Pirate Seas and Wild West. I still don't know why Ancient Egypt imps and other zombies seem so much weaker. That could be a question for the devs. I don't know, like and subscribe, maybe they'll see this video. Maybe they'll patch things, maybe they won't patch things, maybe this is intended. I don't know. I don't have a script, I'm just saying things. So let's bring this back to scripted and concise Captain Flair to go ahead and wrap this up for us. So the final minutes of the level were thankfully quite anticlimactic, and my defense stood completely unharmed in the face of Gargantuars by the dozen. With this many waves of zombies piled up in one spot, the game's running slower than ever before, with the length of one in-game second clocking into around 13 actual seconds each. While I encourage all of you to try this challenge out, it's one of just ridiculous patience. Bring a podcast. Now then, eventually the countdown reaches its conclusion, meaning that we can finally get the last coin back and close off this agonizing chapter. Nothing can stop us now. Well, except for a game crash. Upon booting AltverZ back up, the level's progress was completely reset. So while I didn't technically finish the level, I'd like to think that any reasonable judgment would say this passes. So, can you beat every endless level in PvZ2 AltverZ? Well, we don't know yet. There's still plenty more worlds to cover, with some of them offering especially interesting challenges for my strategy. But until I tackle those, I can confirm that the first 4 are entirely beatable. So with that, I've got some really big video files to clean out of my storage, so I'll see you in the next one.